Cruz, Watsonville, Capitola, Live Oak, Scotts Valley, and the San Lorenzo Valley, too, have we got a show for you today at the 5 o'clock hour. Today, we go deep inside the Benchlands homeless encampment and the apparent dissolution of that camp by the so-called authorities of the city of Santa Cruz. It's on their city council agenda today, and we were hoping for an update before the end of the show. The city council meeting, I'm looking at my screen, it's still going on. But during the show, we will be going to Amy Chen Mills for an in-depth report and interviews with campers at the Benchlands in San Lorenzo Park. On the second half of the show, we go all the way to New York City and discuss the climate, housing, and homelessness with Billy Talon, who is also known as Reverend Billy of the Church of Stop Shopping and the leader of the Stop Shopping Choir. So stay right where you are. Keep that device on KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. If you want to hear about the unfolding homeless crisis in Santa Cruz and about climate emergency nationally, I'm your host, Chris Crone of the Santa Cruz Political Report, and we'll be right back in a Santa Cruz second. This is Chris Crone for KSQD 90.7. We're here in the Benchlands on the Chinatown Bridge in Santa Cruz that connects downtown with San Lorenzo Park, overlooking the homeless encampment that some folks say they counted over 500 to 600 structures along the river and along this part of the park. Standing next to me is Keith McHenry. Keith is a founder of Food Not Bombs, and he has been consistently feeding the public. The city council meeting is going on right now. It is 4:05, and the council meeting is still going on. And a couple things, it was not clear what the $1 million was going to be for. So I'd like maybe, Keith, you to comment on that, and the fact the deputy city manager said there was 225 people in this camp in San Lorenzo Park along the San Lorenzo River, which is known as the Benchlands. Keith McHenry, welcome to Talk of the Bay.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I would say it's a lot more than 275 people or whatever they're saying. Of course, a lot of there are probably several hundred people in here and some of them are just guests, but there are a lot of people living here. And so every one of the tents, of which there's like a lot of tents now, has more than one person in them. Often you go into the little living rooms and there'll be like 20 people sitting there. Now, all 20 aren't residents in the Benchlands necessarily, but probably 10 are of every one of these.
What would you estimate the number of folks here?
It's, I would say 400 to 500.
And is the city council agenda item to dismantle this camp, as far as you know, or to just clean it up and continue to allow people to camp here?
My understanding is they're going to clear it, the camp. I think one of the things that was disturbing was the $1 million transfer from helping homeless people being diverted to restoring the Benchlands, which sounded to me like sweeping the Benchlands of all the people.
Thank you, Keith McHenry. We're back in the studio at KSQD in Harvey West Park Studios. Now with me on the line is journalist and climate activist and a former supervisor candidate, Amy Chen Mills. She is currently reporting from inside the Benchlands encampment in San Lorenzo Park. Amy, welcome to Talk of the Bay.
Hey, thank you so much, Chris.
Could you describe to me what you're seeing in the camp right now, live on KSQD?
Well, we're in the main kind of road through the camp. I'm sitting here with a fellow named Troy outside of his tent. And, it seems pretty mellow right now. It's not too hot, which is nice because the sun's going down. I bet it gets hot sometimes. We're about to talk to Troy, who's been here for a bit. And, there's tents all around. There is garbage all around, but Troy has something to say about the garbage collection situation. Are you ready to hear from Troy?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like to know if he could just tell us what's going on in the camp and what's his experience been.
Well, what's his name, Chris?
Chris.
My experience, we kind of ended up here about 4.5 years ago. Me and my fiance, and I've left a few times, but I'm back because situation. I think that all these homeless people, we are America's children, and we all deserve much better than dirt and hot dogs and burned out porta potties. There's a porta potty up there they haven't removed for 4 months. We don't know whether we did it or one of the conspiracy Take Back Santa Cruz against us did. But it's dirty down here. We don't have laundry. We don't have enough fresh water. The city and people of the city treat us like dirt. They don't let us return our cell phones. People are in survival mode, Chris, and we're a lot of us are trying to band together and try to take care and keep this clean because we like the sense of community. We like that people here are starting to care about each other because it seems like the whole world has abandoned us, especially our nation.
I'm speaking with Troy inside the San Lorenzo Benchlands camp. This is KSQD and Talk of the Bay. Amy Chen Mills, do you have a question for Troy?
Well, one of the interesting things that Troy has talked about with me is that the garbage collection isn't what the city seems to be saying it is. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but he thinks that the city hasn't really been collecting garbage, and the people here really try to clean up.
Sometimes they leave it for a week without letting it pick up, just so it'll make us look worse. They want us to look bad so they can make us move. Now, my biggest suggestion with Amy was that, if they want to move us out of here, they don't like seeing us, there's places where they can help us to get to. We can set up our own spots, have our own little camp like this with people we want around us, and just give us fresh water, showers, and clean laundry, and we'll be happy. We can make a go of it, but and it don't have to be in the sight of the general public or the tourists. Just give us some land where we can, we need essentials too, and we don't mean to be negative or messy or we take a lot of ground scores from people all over town that we get given to us in donations, and all that stuff adds up and piles up, and we can't. A lot of us, there are a lot of disabled people here, people that really can't do a lot of physical labor, so some of it is unnecessary pileup. But fresh water, the dirt, the sanitation, it's right. They should be doing better for us.
Troy, from what I'm hearing, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to say, what occurs to me is how difficult it is to live down here, and people think, people are just down here having a party, having a good time, and that's not what I'm hearing from people. They have a hard time getting water. I don't know if the showers work in here.
We get showers once a week, or we have to go to Housing Matters between 10 and 2 or 7 and 2 now. But they don't.
That's when that truck shows up.
Yeah, and then there's still not really power, so I'm not sure what really is on offer, but people down here are saying, no, they're not getting these things. And then also Troy was saying he thinks that some things are set up, like the burnt-out porta potty has not been removed.
It's been sitting there for weeks.
Yeah, and then we've got another young woman here.
I hear another voice there, Amy. I just want to say this is KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. We are inside the Benchlands camp. The City Council of Santa Cruz is discussing this today, and we have campers on the line. Go ahead, Amy Chen Mills.
Yeah, well, we actually have a young woman here who just looks beautiful today. She's eating some cookie butter ice cream, and she's talking to us. Wait, what did you say your name was?
Kelly.
Kelly's here. Kelly, do you want to talk about what it's been like down here and how you feel about possibly moving? Because that's what the city wants to do, is move people to the Armory, although we don't have enough, to be honest, spaces for 250 to 400 people, depending on who you're listening to.
I currently live up there. I have a spot up there, but I come down here because my boyfriend still lives down here.
Okay. So you've been removed. You can't live with your boyfriend up there.
Right. Well, I can't because we have 2 dogs and him, and we would have fit in the size tent that they provide for you up there. I barely even fit in there with one of our dogs. I've been living here at the Benchlands, since before the first tent city. 7 years ago?
Wow.
Yeah, and trust me, most of us don't want to live down here. We want to get housing. We want something better, And I don't think the community really owes us anything, but what they do say that they're providing, they should provide. Mm-hmm. When I saw those numbers yesterday about what they're supposedly paying for us here, it was appalling. like you said, the trash, the guy named Brad who comes and picks up our trash every couple of days, the poor guy, he comes for a couple hours, maybe twice a week, something like that. Other than that, the trash piles up if we don't take it out. The water, there's one water spigot down there that comes from the river. And, there is pollution that goes down in there, but we do the best that we can with what we're given. The porta potties are filthy. They are so gross, I can't even use them. And the power, it's sporadic. We were getting it only in the middle of the night, from like 9:30 at night until maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. And then sometimes the cops would come through and cut our extension cords. As far as anything else, staff, there is no staff. Jeremy walks through here maybe once.
And who's Jeremy?
Jeremy's supposed to be the manager, the park overseer, or whatever they're calling him. He walks through the park in the mornings for about a half hour a day. And, I just told him they cut all our extension cords. But other than that, there's no staff that monitors us. There's nothing. The cops drive through every day, several times a day. But, they are not. I cannot imagine how anybody believes that they are using the money that they're being given for us in the way that they're saying.
Okay, so let me just ask you guys, Chris, how are we doing? Can I ask another question?
Yeah, I just want to say this is KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. We have our intrepid reporter, Amy Chen Mills, inside the Benchlands camp at San Lorenzo Park, and she is interviewing campers and get their reactions to what the city council's discussing. If you look at your television sets right now, the city council actually has a motion before them about this, and they've already taken public comment. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, so one of the things that I heard at the council meeting, because I was listening in, was that city staff, who I think are trying to do garbage collection, are afraid to come in. And I'm wondering how there's a sense of, it's dangerous to come down here. People are hostile. So could you please comment on that?
The only thing dangerous down here is, honestly,
this is Kelly,
the paraphernalia that they could run into, and that I take full responsibility that is something that sometimes can happen. But other than that, we all down here are willing to pick up the trash. We several times a day ourselves have, rubber gloves and trash bags and try to pick it up. But we are not a hostile group of people. We're, sure, there's people that fight amongst ourselves, yeah. But towards other people, we try our best to make them feel comfortable and safe. We don't want to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm. We heard from Kelly and Troy. Do you have any other voices there? Anybody else to interview?
The people who've kind of wandered up, I don't know what they have to say. Are you okay talking about living down here, what it's like? Yeah. That's what this is about. What's your name?
Yeah,
You're live on KSQD.
Choosing.
Yeah, you're live on the radio.
My name's Choosing K9. That's just what I go by. My government name is, my mom named me George Crawford. And usually I don't do this type of stuff, but being down here and experience it, it's crazy that there's so many people down here homeless that don't want to be homeless and rather have a job. Seriously, it's like if you were to offer them a place to stay, and accumulate some money realistically to get out of this situation, I bet you they'd probably do it like me.
Would you? Yeah.
Right now.
What kind of situation would be good for you if you could sort of visualize it right now?
Well, that's the start, is feeling holy, being able to bathe, having your own space, clean clothes, and brush your teeth in the morning, wake up maybe to some coffee, or realistically.
I can't live without coffee.
Right, you feel me? It's just like daily stuff that makes everybody feel good before they go to work. It made me feel good before I go to work every morning. That's what I did. I drank coffee with the dudes I was getting ready to work with. Got up bright and early, took a shower before work.
Yeah.
It felt good.
Choosing K9, are you working right now? Do you have a job outside the camp?
Well, I'm unemployed, so I got laid off. So the last job I had was I was working in Sacramento for the truss company, building trusses for houses, like the skeleton for homes.
Yeah.
And then we were ahead of everything, and the pandemic happened, and then I got laid off, so I got unemployment.
Right.
And since that happened, all kinds of other things just trickled down in the system, dealing with parole and probation, And to them, that's more important than my homelessness and everything I'm dealing with out here fighting bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask all three of you, Kelly and Troy and Choosing Canine. The city is going to close that camp in sections. If you're in that first section that gets closed, where will you go? Where will you go to the Armory, or will you go somewhere else? Will you leave Santa Cruz or look for another camping place in Santa Cruz?
Well, Kelly has a spot at the Armory, but her boyfriend's down here and her dog. So if they close the camp, what's going to happen to you and your boyfriend and your dog?
Hopefully he'll be able to get a spot up there at the Armory, but if not,
do whatever you got.
We do whatever we got to do, Either way, we'll stay together and be okay.
I mean, that's all you got to do is come together and just be realistic. Like, hold on, wait a minute, man. I'm tired of getting ate up by bugs,
Me too.
I want a job. I want to be able to go to sleep. I can't just go get a job. Like, I can't just... Sure, I can go get a job, but I'm not going to be 100%. I'm pretty sure I probably wouldn't get hired in these conditions that I'm in. I'm tired dragging my feet to work.
What about going to the... Oh, hang on. Okay, Kelly's talking about trying to get a job here.
Yeah, I've been using Indeed, filling out all kinds of applications and putting my resume out there. But I get these interviews, but I may not be able to take a shower that day. You know what I mean? And when you aren't clean, you can't really be like you said, you can't be your best, So it affects it big time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people with housing don't realize how hard it is just to get up in the morning and get out there and have your clothes be clean. And
we don't want to stay here and not have anything. This isn't our choice. It's really not.
Yeah.
This is KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. We are inside the encampment at the San Lorenzo Benchlands today in Santa Cruz. And I have a question, for Troy, if he's still available. 4.5 years he's lived there. Most people come through Santa Cruz and stay for an average of 4 years. You already beat the average, Troy, and I believe Kelly said she's been there for 7 years. Don't you all feel like residents? Isn't this your home? Sounds like it.
Yeah, I think Troy's on his way out. He went into his house and he's coming out. Troy, what did you want to ask Chris? Chris was asking, you've been here for a long time. 4 years, did you say? Something like that. And does it feel like home to you? Well, Troy was saying, Chris, before that he'd prefer that people be allowed to move in groups of, affinity groups of people that they feel supported by and want to be with. And so would you go to the Armory at Troy if they gave you the offer?
Actually, I've heard a number of testimonies from people who have gone to the Overlook site or to the Riverside camp. I myself personally was at Riverside when me and my fiance first got here. And there's too many restrictions and rules on our times and how we get to work. The van will only travel, and now I'm hearing that the staff are becoming abusive towards impoverished Americans as well. And a lot of the staff in a lot of these stores and restaurants around here are...
Everybody's case out here is different.
Yes, but we're all treated badly.
Everybody has a different experience. I got just mental patients out here. Like, you hear people talking to themselves that need mental hospitals out here you dealing with. This is crazy because you're dealing with all kinds of individuals out here. Some people got PTSD like me. I don't like people behind me.
Okay.
So somebody might think, that's weird. But when I see people coming behind me, getting behind me, I'm kind of like, what's going on? Why are y'all behind me? They might be some normal people, but since I'm out here and since my PTSD is already crazy from past, experiences, I've been through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So I just don't like people behind me.
Okay, so you just heard, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
George, Choosing K9.
Choosing K9. George, talking about a lot of people have PTSD, of course, and some people have mental health issues, and there's such a need for us to provide services for folks and provide shelter for folks. It's a city and county issue. It's also, of course, a federal issue. If the feds just decided to take the money out of the defense budget, the war budget, and put into housing everybody, they could do that, and I'm just waiting for that day.
Well, that's a radical notion, Amy Chen Mills. Hey, we're going to play a clip from Keith McHenry.
Hang on, everyone's talking at once.
Okay, go ahead.
Hang on.
We're at San Lorenzo Park.
We got one suggestion here.
A fast program. Open up one of these hotels, all right, generating a working atmosphere like the program in San Francisco. What's that program in San Francisco?
Delaney Street?
Delancey. All right, so you'll come from here, you'll go there, you'll get a desk job.
Mm-hmm.
You're checking people in, you'll have roommates, you're generating some type of working skills. They're getting clean, excuse me, and they're actually going out looking for applications, and then they move along, they stack a couple of paychecks, they hook up with Coral Street, and they get in that program with housing. You got the job, they're going to get you, find your house, and boom, you move into your house, the next individual comes in.
Yeah.
And what do you do? You good? You think you could work the desk? Yeah. You want to start cleaning up maybe the rooms? You want to, you know what I'm saying? Make sure, you know what I mean? Security or...
Yeah. I mean, so George has some good ideas here, and that's something I wish the city would do is get input from residents down here. I don't know if they do, but I hope they do. Chris, any other questions you want to?
Yeah, Amy, do you want to line up a couple more people? I'm going to go to a 2-minute interview with Keith McHenry, and if you want to get 2 other people, maybe new voices if you can find folks, and let's ask them what the solutions are to homelessness.
Okay, sounds good. We'll try.
Okay, this is Chris Crone at KSQD 90.7, and we've been talking with Amy Chen Mills, who's been interviewing campers out at the Benchlands in San Lorenzo Park. Right now, we're going to go to a clip that we did an earlier interview with Keith McHenry talking about solutions to homelessness.
The solution has been, for the last 2 years, we know that this camp is going to grow, and there needed to be a solution. But for 2 years, they didn't really do anything to actually provide any kind of accommodations for anybody in this camp. And in fact, they've done things like cut off the water, which we got a federally ordered to have the water put there. That was in our negotiation with the city in the federal lawsuit that has made this camp possible. And so it doesn't seem like there's any logic at all. It's almost as though they have the belief that everybody's going to evaporate. And I wrote I wrote an essay about the magical thinking of city council.
Can we get that online?
And that can
How do we get that?
Yeah, and that go to Anarchist Cook WordPress. That's my blog. And the thing about it is that they have had all this time and never came up with an idea of like, these people need to camp somewhere. One of the biggest problems for people living out here is that they want to come and go when they want to come and go, and they want to be treated like adults. People really dislike the staff at the Armory, and they really dislike the staff at Overlook, and people just get kicked out out of those places all the time.
You're going to get a group of folks to go down to City Council and make some comments. What are you going to tell the council today if you can get to talk to them?
Well, the main thing we want to do is to show that there's a lot of unhoused people that are serious about this. We've been having about having safe and fair accommodations. We are concerned when the floods come, this is going to be a horrible mess. We had worldwide news of about a third or maybe a quarter of the camp washing into the San Lorenzo River last time it rained. So we want people moved to a safe place where they also have freedom. The other issue is that not only do you have to catch the van at 8 o'clock and go up to the Armory, you have a curfew, all these rules and regulations that people are not treated like adults. And that's one of the reasons people leave.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Keith McHenry, Food Not Bombs. We are on the Chinatown Bridge overlooking the Benchlands homeless encampment. Chris Crone for KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. Amy Chen Mills, are you still on the line? Do you have somebody set up?
Yes, I do. I've got Matthew with me. We've been walking down the road together, and we're at a spot now that has, I think I've been here before, actually, has a little garden and some flowers going on. There are piles of trash around, but they're kind of raked into piles. I don't know who does that. Do you know who does that, Matthew?
I think.
Yeah, this woman just said I've raked some of them.
We do this. We used to have a gentleman come that was hired by the county to come pick the stuff up, but they have since told him not to come do it anymore. So we do it ourselves, and then the county comes by and picks it up every couple of days or so.
Okay, so some people, like I said, Chris, think that it's kind of a setup. And, as you know, they've swept other areas of the city. They've moved everyone here to the Benchlands. And so it's become really big, a lot of people, a lot of, more trash and more impact. And so there's some thought that this is sort of a way to get the city, behind the idea of just clearing this whole place out. Matthew, did you say you'd been up to the Armory?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so tell me about your experiences. Tell us what happened going up to the Armory and how they invited you. Oh, yeah, I think I remember this story, but go ahead and share with the listeners.
A while ago, I was told I could go up to the Armory. I got my things together. I went up there. Everything was fine. And then I had a family emergency where I had to be gone for a few days. So, backstory: their rule is up at the Armory that you can't be gone from up there longer than 72 hours, or you're kicked out. And so, me knowing this, I relayed the message of my family emergency to somebody that I live next to up there. And they relayed that message to the people that run the place up there. And I was told by that person that I would be fine, that I wouldn't be kicked out, that to just come back up there and they would give me my spot back, and everything would be fine. And so I come back into town and I go up there to get to go to my spot, and they told me they didn't know what I was talking about, that I had been kicked out of the program. So I took my things and I came back down to the Benchlands, and then recently I got another voucher to go back up there, and it was bad from the start because of police activity down here in the Benchlands. They've been coming through pretty much every day and with county workers and throwing our stuff away. And so one of the
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you.
Amy, we're going to have to maybe leave it there. I wanted to get a final comment from you. I wanted to thank Troy, and I wanted to thank Kelly, and also choosing K9, and the person you have right now on with us, Matthew.
Matthew. I don't think he can go. Matthew, I don't think can go back up to the Armory because the staff, is already kind of two strikes against him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where he's going to go. Where do you think he would go if they close the camp here?
I guess I could try River Street.
I guess we're going to have to leave it there. Amy Chen Mills, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you. Amy Chen Mills, journalist, climate activist. We're bumping up against the half hour. More will be coming out after the City Council's decision today. They're still at it. I'm looking at them on the television right now. They're debating the homeless encampment at San Lorenzo Park. Stay tuned to KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. More to come during the second half of the show when we go to New York to speak live with climate activist, singer, and entertainer Reverend Billy Talon. I'm Chris Crone of the Santa Cruz Political Report, which comes out today in Bratton Online. That's BrattonOnline.com. This is Talk of the Bay, KSQD, and KSQD.org. We'll be right back in a Santa Cruz second.
What did you do to the great outdoors? And to our children's children, why and wherefore? You couldn't decide about that thing called life. You wanted more gas, more guns, more sacrifice.
Welcome back. This is Talk of the Bay, KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. On part 2 of today's show, we will talk with Reverend Billy Talon of the Church of Stop Shopping. He's speaking to us from Brooklyn, New York. Reverend Billy, welcome to Talk of the Bay.
Hey, Earthalluia, Chris.
Earthalooya. Yeah, I haven't heard that for a while. Yes. Reverend Billy, I usually offer a fairly lengthy introduction to my guests, but today, because of who you are and what you've done, performer, theater manager, beat poet, playwright, celloist, I frankly don't know where to begin. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Who is Billy Talon, and how did you become Reverend Billy, leader of the Church of Stop Shopping?
I think that I got lonely. I think that wandering around in Times Square, pummeled by 80-foot tall supermodels, I just had a feeling of media loneliness. I was dazzled into being isolated, and I started shouting back. And that was 20 years ago, and I go out to Times Square and preach on the sidewalks every once in a while just to tune up. But I think that that essentially comes down to wanting to communicate in a way that's more direct and honest. And so...
Yeah, I have some of that direct and honest piece right now from a recent talk that you gave. I'm just going to cue it up right now.
Oh, okay.
The earth has plans for us. The riddle, the challenge that we all feel as we walk around worrying all day about the collapse of the physical environment around us, we just ask ourselves, what can we do? How far do I have to walk away from my ordinary life? I do something every 5 minutes that I do every other 5 minutes. I'm locked into a life, an ordinary life. It's not a bad life. It's what I've been doing. How do I change that?
Wow. Reverend Billy, you said about 5 things in one sentence. The earth has plans for us, the collapse of the physical environment, walking away from my ordinary life. Fill in some blanks, man. That is some heavy stuff, and you deal with heavy stuff through your ministry.
Well, we have a building now in the East Village that is near the East River.
In New York City.
In Alphabet City, in New York, Manhattan. And it's an old bank branch that the realtor was having trouble getting rid of and turned it over to us. And we meet every Sunday at 3 p.m. We've been off for August, but now we're starting up again in a couple weeks at Labor Day weekend on the fourth Sunday, 3 p.m.
Earthalooya.
Earthalooya. We'll be shouting and jumping around, and we're basically working on that thing that I just said, which is something in our ordinary living, something in our everyday life, isn't what it appears. Something needs to be rooted out and changed, aired out and flipped through the air. Something in our everyday is in fact puritanical, is in fact unable to break out of this avalanche of products that rains down on us. We're drifting towards a mass mortality event, and we're really not doing nearly enough. Too many of us are not in contact with our fight or flight evolution mechanism. We just don't have it. We go from errand to errand. We go from love to hate to love. We walk through our day, and our actual survival is something that we keep abstract. We keep it at a distance from us. I don't think we believe we're living an actual life. The fact is that consumerism is a narrow way to live. It's a very strange, unique, narrow way to live. It's determined by the profiteers, the investor class, the political class, and so forth. And they have us under a level of control that we just don't understand. We haven't found our way out of it.
Reverend Billy,
the earth will get us out of it. The earth with the superstorms and the droughts and the wildfires is knocking on our door, and I think that we will respond. Amen. Earth-alleluia.
Okay. What has been your response to that fight or flight feeling? Do you still feel that, or are you fighting, or you're obviously not fleeing because you're talking about your work here on the radio?
Well, at the Earth Church, it's at the corner of Lower Side Avenue and 3rd Street. So it's just a couple blocks from the FDR on the southeastern edge of Manhattan. We have an enormous corrupt thing. It's like Tammany Hall that has happened there, in which 1,000 mature trees are being cut down, clear cut. It's a clear cutting of a major green space, and the green space the people who live around the green space can't defend themselves because they're not rich. It's low income housing around there. So it's the East River Park. So that's just a couple blocks from our church. So, the wonderful Stop Shopping Choir singing their songs. We're going to have another song pretty soon.
Yes,
yeah. They're singing about the hidden life of trees. They're singing about the language and the roots and the mycelium and the filaments in the trees and the pheromones that come out of the branches. And they're singing about the living being, the consciousness of trees. And then we go down and we go to the trees. And then we face the chainsaws and we face the bulldozers and go to jail. And we keep singing as we go to jail. So that ritual is we're trying to zigzag and dance our way out of the strict enforcement of consumerism. Amen.
Wow. We're trying to save 12 trees here in Santa Cruz, and you've given our audience here in Santa Cruz, an idea. I'm speaking with Reverend Billy Talent of the Stop Shopping Church in New York City, Lower East Side. You have said Lower East Side like 4 times since we went on the air. That sounds like a very important place for you. Why? I guess because you've gotten close to these trees that they're cutting down, and now the neighborhood and the park, the East River Park. How do you suggest people saving their neighborhoods? Do you see any wins for you so far? Anything that you saved?
Oh, let's see. We've had some success getting glyphosates out of the New York park system.
Nice.
We go up into the offices and jump on the desks and make harmonies and get thrown out and then come back. So we're like New York characters. They kind of makes people smile. We got Frank Graham out of Central Park in the middle of COVID when 1,000 people were dying every day. Suddenly, Billy Graham's son sneaks in. He has a $1 billion church, the first church to endorse Trump in 2016. He sneaks in, bribes the people that would stop him in the government, and sets up 14 big tents. And in these tents, he operates on people. And he brings people in who are dying of COVID. And I think in that general period of time, we thought we needed beds. But did we need that kind of bed? Because you go to his website, and it's his hospital, his tent hospital. He follows, American disasters around the country and around the world. And people are saved by his doctors who are heterosexual Christians, because you have to sign a "I'm not gay" proviso to get the job. And he's got pictures of Christians praying around these people that are dying, maybe recovering. But what a nightmare! You're like pulling out of your coma, and you look up, and there are all these Franklin Graham Christians praying for your soul. So that came right into the center of Central Park, 80th and 5th Avenue, right next to the Met. And so the Stop Shopping Church, we went out there, of course, and a lot of us are queer in various ways. We went out there and sang and, kind of got roughed up that was when Trump was still president. So Frank being his friend, of course, the cops were freaking out, and they tackled us and roughed us up and put us in jail. But we got Frank out of there. He was only there a few more weeks because the best activists in New York City are the ACT UP veterans.
There you go.
And they didn't know he was there, and we kind of tipped them off, and they showed up in in droves, and he went back to North Carolina.
Those are the protesting veterans. Those
yes,
ACT UP
they're
vets.
the best. They're the best.
I got a question. You know, the other Billy, not Reverend Billy Talon, but Billy Graham, comes from that line, and now you're talking about Franklin. You really segued into my next question was, you know, we come from a history of Father Coughlin, for example, who did these huge tent things, and I think he filled Madison Square Garden one time back in the 30s. We've gone through Jerry Falwell and Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Oral Roberts, and of course Billy Sunday. And you sort of left the acting world in order to become a real life actor or preacher. Do you consider yourself, are you a preacher, Billy Talon? And what kind of preacher are you?
Well, it was a performance art project at one point in the 80s and 90s. And then at some point, I got the signal from one of my directors, Tony Torn. And Tony said, we don't want a satire. We don't want a political position. Our generation needs spiritual solace and inspiration, and that you need to be. You're preaching in the streets of the village. We need a real preacher here. We need it reinvented and brought back to us without a judgmental Old Testament God screaming at us, and without all the threats. And so the earth is our supreme being. And we forgive each other our sins in advance. And I'm not satirical anymore. When you're burying people and marrying people and going to the hospital and holding their hands as they pass away, it's no longer a performance art project. But I was taken into it without. Sometimes I didn't know that it was going that far. But the earth is calling out to us to come to our radical selves, to resist the monoculture, to resist all the triggers that are being pulled by the products that rain down on us, to turn around and find our unique selves. And that's not easy to do, but it's very rewarding. And it involves people who will point fingers at you and call you names, put you in jail, shoot at you, whatever. The people defending the monoculture are ferocious.
Was there a Saul moment, if I can go biblical on you, for you, Reverend Billy Talon, when you were on that road, and of course Saul's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt because supposedly they were destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, and Saul became later Paul. And he had that inspiration, as did Moses at some point. Was there an inspiration point in the life of Billy Talon, or has it just been a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year journey, and you changed that way?
Oh, I got some folk story type, epiphanies.
Epiphany, that's the word I was looking for.
That I can talk, there was the time that I was conducting a funeral, and I just... The family of the young man who had been killed by an SUV, they just hugged me and they were weeping. And I was standing there in my satirical outfit, with my Elvis hair and my collar and my white, what I've worn in Santa Cruz when Annie Sprinkle and Beth, produced me somewhere in Santa Cruz, Beth Stevens, the costume.
Yes.
I was standing there in my satirical televangelist costume, and these people were adults, and they were Americans, and they were not from the art world or the academic world or some sort of ironical place. They had just lost their son, and I hugged them back and just got way into that sorrow. The loss of life and the reclaiming of life.
And that hit you.
That's what the earth is like. The earth is like that. The earth is very, you can get very sentimental around it. We have 1,000 trees next to our church here on the river. 500 of them have been cut down. So the 500 of them have been cut down. Mostly it's just the trunk, the stumps. So we know that they speak through their roots. So what are they saying? There's a crowd of trees on the East River here, and what are they saying to each other? It's just a moment to stop and be full of compassion for them.
Spiritual solace and inspiration. The earth as supreme being is what you said before. I'm just calling back your words at you because I think those are ones that need to be thought a little bit about and not just thrown out once, but just...
You're actually listening to me. That doesn't happen very often with media people. God, I gotta watch what I say.
I was wondering if we could do like not a role play, but speak from your heart, Reverend. You know, I recently ran into you in Union Square in New York City at a protest and a presentation that was put on by a group called Climate Clock, and that's a group that alerts us to how much time we have left as the climate is changing if we do nothing. You can go to climateclock.org and find out. How did you happen to be invited to that protest? And if you could put your reverend hat on, could you give us a message that you gave to the crowd that day, a preaching message? Reverend Billy Talon?
We know that, was that dead air, radio dead air? We know that time has changed a great deal over the last year or two. We know that the lens that we have between us and experience with COVID, Black Lives Matter, with Extinction Rebellion, with the Ukraine war, we have so many superstorms and fires and floods and so much unprecedented collapsing of, it's just, we're being tossed about. And our conception of time has been changing a lot as a result. And then we had this big digital clock on the side of this building on the downtown edge of Union Square, where it gives us, the 7 years we're supposed to have left, according to the, IPCC report, before we have no ability to influence events. And we don't think that's right. Because we don't think that's right, because that time is right now. Because all of the scientists have said that the feedback loops are much more serious and quicker than they realize. So we have to be active, radically active. When you're an activist, you think of yourself as opposing something that won't move. And you get arrested and you make media out of it and you turn around and try to learn and try to teach. The activism now has got to have a new nuance, a new meaning, and that is that we need to be active. We need to be active, and that means reconceiving time. We need to live each second more deeply, so that a second becomes a longer period of time. It's like when Crazy Horse got on his steed and galloped through the battle, and all the arrows were in slow motion, and he slapped the shoulder of the opposing chief, and then rode back again. That's what we have to do with the life around us right now. We have to be more active. Right now, I think that our rate of activity has been governed by the profit-taking monoculture.
Yeah.
We can't do that anymore. We can't do it. It's the earth now. It's the earth. And it's fight or flight. It's evolving. It's your body. It's our body and the ecosystem we live in. And a healthy neighborhood is an ecosystem. It's a gift economy. We have to be as active with human beings as we are with animals and plants, bacteria and reptiles. We simply have to live more deeply, more quickly, more sensitively. How would Gary Snyder put it? Amen. How would Octavio Butler put it? I'm trying to catch up to my teachers.
Nice.
Earth-alleluia.
Nice.
Earth-alleluia.
Earth-alleluia.
Hey, let's listen to the.
Yeah, he's got a cue right
Stop
now.
Shopping choir. What happened to my choir? I'm out here by myself.
I'm gonna just, we can talk as it plays.
Okay.
I hope he's gonna put it back on.
Well, we're gonna reopen the church.
Yeah.
We took August off. We're gonna be at the Earth Church, 3 p.m. Sunday. And out in California, it'll be live streamed at noon. And you come to my website, revbilly.com, revbilly.com.
Nice.
And you can watch us. Our guest will be the leader of the the Amazon Union, Chris Smalls. On Labor Day weekend, Christopher Smalls, he comes straight from meeting Joe Biden last week, straight to be with the activists.
Wow. How
really
cool is that?
He didn't get into a suit to meet Joe Biden. He looked like Snoop Doggy Dogg, you know. He was just, he's a wonderful, wonderful hero. Chris Smalls is going to be with us.
Reverend, stay with me. I just got to do this is KSQD 90.7 and KSQD.org. We are here in the Harvey West Park Studios, and we are talking to the Reverend Billy Talon, who's all the way over there on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, the city, as they call it. You know, Billy Talon, you might not remember, but I accosted you one time up there at the Trump Towers when you sought to exploit that garden that is open to the public, that was an easement that Trump agreed to, that's been closed during COVID, and you were holding sessions up there. What happened to that, and where is it at now?
Well, we had kind of dream writing sessions up there. It was like writing workshops. That
yes, I remember. Yes.
And then we would read, what we had written to the the golden phallus that went into the sky next to us there. The community garden that he agreed to keep open is on the 5th floor. It's like a glorified balcony. And we would go up there and be surrounded by Secret Service people. If you went to the bathroom, there'd be 20 guys in black suits washing their hands and taking pisses at the same time. And so it was. Do you remember that? You were there, right?
Yeah. Well, I was there once with you, and that was pretty crazy. But I think it was before Trump came down that elevator, so that didn't,
I think a lot of our activism was while he was president.
Yeah.
We have gone in there. There's a Starbucks in there, and so in our coffee activism, we went in there before, and boy, we were escorted out by thugs. I mean, they were so out of central casting that we were just laughing. They were just thugs with scars on their faces and heavy set and big suits that don't fit them. It was just. I think that we started telling them you're out of central casting, and then that's what the Stop Shop Inquirer, which is irrepressible. That's what they do. They start improvising a song. You're like a gangster out of central casting. You can go to Hollywood and get some work.
Now you go and preach your Earth-alleluia. Hey, I got a quote from you from an interview you did with Harrison Jacobs in The Insider. You said, quote, "Here is what is killing us. The 8,000 invisible, unregulated chemicals of Monsanto, Syngenta, Bayer, Dow, DuPont, Cargill, BASF, the factory farms, the pesticide-drenching GMO companies like Starbucks kill people in the global south through their land grabs, resource grabs, and factory farming. These companies are killing us." Reverend, take us out on a good note here. You got 30 seconds. How do you sum this up?
Oh, I just want to thank you for reuniting me with the Stop Shop Inquirer. They sing while they get arrested, and they're just brilliant. And they're my leaders. And Savitri D is our director.
Yeah.
And I want to send out some love to Annie and Beth and
those are fellow Santa Cruzans, right? They live in Santa Cruz.
All the friends, and Sandy Stone there at the station.
Sandy Stone, Sandy.
What a wonderful community. I love Santa Cruz, and I will really look forward to coming back someday. It's just this COVID thing kind of interrupted the visits to favorite places.
Well, I'm touching my heart. You can't see it because it's radio, but the love goes back to you, Reverend. We're going to have to leave it there. All right, a big Earth-alleluia. A big thank you to my guests, journalist, climate activist Amy Chen Mills, and the one and only climate and housing warrior, I'm going to call him, Reverend Billy Talon from the Lower East Side. Thank you to both of you, and a big shout out to Adrian Sasso at our soundboard. Today we are going out listening to Reverend Billy and the Church of Stop Shopping Choir as they sing Beautiful Earth. The choir seems to know that the revolution will not be televised or recorded on radio, but will only happen if you go out there and get involved with others in your community and organize for it. And that's what this show's about. Next week, That's Tuesday, August 30th. We will have former 20-year supervisor and chair of Save Santa Cruz, Gary Patton. He's going to be our guest for the entire hour next week on Talk of the Bay. I'm Chris Crone, the Santa Cruz Political Report, which comes out today and brought online. This has been Talk of the Bay for August 23rd, 2022. This show will be repeated Thursday at 6 a.m. That's 9 a.m. on the East Coast, and is also available on the KSQD.org archive page. Good night and good luck, Santa Cruz.
You showed us the way, and now we're walking on that alpine meadow, walking in the wetlands, across the long grass prairie, swimming across the coral